Have you ever wondered what it must be like to be related to a rich or famous person? Do you think it would make your life easier or harder? You'd probably have more money than you do now, but would the money be worth the increased attention you'd have to deal with? On top of that, you'd always be compared to your famous relative. That would get annoying after a while. All of the people in today's video have amazing relatives, and some of them are incredible and famous in their own right too. Not only is Prince Jean-Christophe Napoleon a direct blood relative of the legendary French emperor, but he also seems to have retained some of his great-great-great-great-uncle's spirit for adventure and confrontation. The prince was in Paris with his fiancée in April 2019 when his car was broken into and his fiancée's engagement ring was stolen, along with her bag and purse. The ring was priceless. It was a 40-carat diamond that was once part of the crown of Eugenie, the last empress of France. Instead of leaving the matter to the police, the young Napoleon decided to track it down himself. Thinking quickly, the prince checked to see if any of her cards had been used since the theft and quickly realized that it had been used to pay for a meal at a sushi restaurant, and then also to check into a nearby Parisian hotel. Only then did he call the police, who apprehended the thief and returned the ring, worth $1 million, to its rightful owner. We're sure that his distant relative would have approved of his smart, tactical thinking. When he's not tracking down stolen goods in Paris, Napoleon is an investment manager in the City of London, and one of his great rivals comes from a family that his own family has a lot of history with. That's Arthur Mornington, the current Marquis of Douro and a direct descendant of Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of Wellington, who defeated Napoleon at Waterloo in 1815. Their ancestors did battle in the fields of Belgium, and now the fight continues on the trading floors of England's capital city. This battle won't end in bloodshed, though. Although they work for competing companies, Arthur says he knows Jean-Christophe very well and considers him a friend. As well as being connected to the Duke of Wellington, Arthur also has familial ties to Queen Victoria of England. And as if that weren't enough, his grandfather was Prince Frederick of Prussia. Comparing portraits of Wellesley and photographs of Mornington side by side, it's hard not to be struck by the resemblance. Their style may be different, but that strong jawline is the same. It's been hard to avoid Meghan Markle in the press recently. The want-away member of the British royal family has been everywhere. She takes a lot of criticism from the British press, and some people believe that she's criticized because she doesn't come from noble blood. But they're wrong. Meghan is related to British wartime Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and also to William Shakespeare, who many people consider to be the greatest writer who ever lived. The website myheritage.com has been doing some research into the history of the Markle family and has found that thanks to her mother Doria Ragland, she's Shakespeare's fifth cousin, 13 times removed. It's only a vague connection, but it's there. She's slightly closer to Churchill, who's her sixth cousin, 5 times removed. That's a connection she owes to Zachariah Howe, a British settler who arrived in America in the 17th century, and is a common ancestor of both the Duchess of Sussex and the cigar-smoking Prime Minister. They're not quite royal connections, but they're not far off. Being related to someone like Richard Wagner must be considered both a blessing and a curse. The German composer is undoubtedly one of the greatest who ever lived, but was also a notorious racist and anti-Semite whose beliefs were echoed by the Nazis. Indeed, during the time of Hitler's rule, Wagner's music was often played at Nazi rallies. That bloodline is one that Nike Wagner, the composer's great-granddaughter, has been wrestling with all her life. Wagner isn't the only great composer in her family tree. Being related to Wagner means she's also related to Hungarian composer Franz Liszt, whose daughter Wagner married. She didn't completely get the musical bug herself, but has instead forged a successful career as both a festival director and a published author. Her fields of expertise are art and music. She may not make any music herself, but she isn't hesitant about giving her opinion on it. She's never said which of the composers she prefers, although she has noted that her liking for Liszt came to her much later in life than her liking for Wagner. If someone told you that you might be related to Adolf Hitler, how would you react? Would you leave the possibility alone? Or would you be compelled to find out? That was the choice facing French plumber Philippe Loret in 2018, after years of speculation that his grandmother, Charlotte Lovejoy, had an affair with Hitler that led to the birth of his father. He has plenty of reason to be suspicious. Hitler once painted his grandmother semi-nude in 1916, and nobody could deny that his father looked very much like the Austrian dictator. Philippe claims that his father sat him down when he was only a child and told them the truth, that Hitler was his grandfather. He kept his secret for decades, but now feels like he needs to know his true ancestry while he's still alive. Unfortunately, we don't know the result of the DNA test. We know that the test was taken in 2018, because there's footage of him doing it. And we know his sample was taken to Russia to be compared with records of Hitler's own. But the results are being kept secret. Perhaps it's not as far-fetched a theory as it seems. George Washington, the very first president of the United States of America, was quite famously not all that keen on the British royal family. In fact, he fought a war to gain independence from them. That means he probably wouldn't be keen on one of his descendants joining the family by way of marriage. But one of them has. And it's Kate Middleton, the wife of Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge. The link isn't a strong one. She and Washington are 8th cousins, 7 times removed. But it's not her only ancestral American tie. She's also a cousin of Francis Scott Key, the writer of the Star-Spangled Banner. Kate's ancestry spreads far and wide, so much so that even her husband is her 14th cousin once removed, and comedian Ellen DeGeneres is her 14th cousin twice removed too. For all we know, we could be related to the wife of the future King of England, and so might you be. You could probably guess who Sean Ono Lennon is related to just by looking at him, even if we hadn't told you his name. He's the son of iconic British singer-songwriter and peace activist John Lennon and his wife, Yoko Ono. Sean was only 5 when his father passed away, but has grown up to be almost the spitting image of him and shares many of his interests. None of Sean's own musical projects, of which there have been many, have been as successful as the Beatles, but he keeps himself busy writing film scores and producing records for other artists, as well as recording and releasing new material of his own on occasion. He's been in a long-term relationship with American musician Charlotte Kemp Mull since 2005, and they may produce musical children of their own in the future. When he's not playing instruments, he takes part in transcendental meditation, another interest he shares with both his mother and his father. As John would no doubt have said, he's a chip off the old block. If your last name was Mussolini, it would be understandable if you never considered a career in politics, especially in Italy, where things ended badly for fascist leader Benito Mussolini after he chose to ally with Adolf Hitler during the Second World War. Having Mussolini as a grandfather has not, however, put Alessandra Mussolini off the idea of getting involved herself, and it's a field she's enjoyed some success in. The controversial and outspoken former actress has had a colorful career, which has included 2 appearances in Playboy, an album of Italian folk songs, and 11 movie credits. She appeared to support socialist causes in her youth and was a noted pro-gay rights advocate, but appeared to change direction in her mid-30s and triggered the collapse of the Identity, Tradition, Sovereignty group within the European Parliament in 2007 by claiming that all Romanians were criminals. She eventually failed to gain re-election to the European Parliament in 2019 and is presumably seeking new employment. During the 1950s, Grace Kelly was widely considered to be the most beautiful woman in the world. Her performances on Hollywood's silver screens won her admirers all over the world, including Prince Rainier III of Monaco, who married her and made her a princess. The genes that made her so good-looking must be strong ones because her granddaughter, Camille Gottlieb, looks so much like her that if you compare pictures of them at the same age, they could pass for twins. The 21-year-old lives in Monaco with her mother, Princess Stephanie, along with her half-brother and half-sister. It's implied that her father is Jean-Raymond Gottlieb. The two have a second name in common, even though he's not listed on her birth certificate. With the same skin tone, cheekbones, lips, and hair as her grandmother, it's likely that Hollywood would welcome Camille with open arms if she wanted to go there. But based on her Instagram pictures, it seems she's happy enough living the high life in Monaco. From his martial arts movies, Hong Kong's movie star Jackie Chan comes across as something of a wild man. His son JC is also on the wild side, but he's wild in different ways. JC was born in 1982 to Jackie and his wife Joan Lin, who is also an actor. He shares his parents' love of performance and has appeared as an actor in more than 20 films, the majority of which were made for Chinese audiences. He also has a love of music, having released 2 albums and a shorter recording that was released as a tribute to his grandfather, Charles Chan, yet another famous performer. JC's relationship with his father has sometimes been troubled, never more so than when he was sentenced to 6 months in prison for allowing marijuana to be smoked in his apartment in Beijing, or when he dropped out of university in the United States of America because he preferred to go out partying and driving fast cars. Now that JC is a little older and wiser, his relationship with Jackie has recovered, and the two are often photographed together at celebrity events. She's already showbiz royalty, but did you know Beyoncé Knowles isn't far away from being royal by blood? Somewhat improbably, we can draw a direct line between the Destiny's Child singer and Elizabeth II, the reigning Queen of England. On the surface, they don't appear to have much in common, and given all the millions of dollars that Beyoncé and her husband Jay-Z have made through the music industry, they certainly don't need to exploit their royal connection for financial gain. But it's a fact anyway, albeit a tenuous one. Beyoncé and Her Majesty are 25th cousins once removed. You have to go back in time a very long way to find their common ancestor. It's King Henry II, who sat on the throne of England from 1154 to 1189. We'd love to believe that Queen Elizabeth went out and bought all of Beyoncé's albums when she heard the news, but sadly we suspect that wasn't the case. Having a rich and famous family doesn't always mean that you'll never have to worry about money as long as you live, but it improves your chances significantly. One man who can testify to that fact is Hugh Grossfiner, who in 2016 became the youngest billionaire in the world when he inherited the estate of his father, Gerald Grossfiner. Although their names sound as English as can be, the secrets of their wealth lay with their family heritage. Hugh is directly descended from the maternal line of Alexander Pushkin, the great Russian poet, and also has ties to the House of Romanov. The trail goes like this. Pushkin's daughter Natalia married Prince Niklaus Wilhelm von Nassau and moved to Germany. They had a daughter, Sophia Marenberg, who married Mikhail Romanov, grandson of Tsar Nikolai I, and moved to London. They, in turn, had a daughter named Anastasia de Torby, who married a British industrialist and had a daughter named Natalia after her grandmother. It was Natalia who married Gerald Grossfiner and created the biological and financial link that benefited Hugh Grossfiner so handsomely. Hugh had been working in client relations for a biofuel company before he received his inheritance. Understandably, he chose to give up work when he became so incredibly rich. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon!